A geopolitical environment under intense economic stress. 5 months into her job as Canada's top diplomat, Anita Anand is on a crucial trip to Asia to ensure dialogue is sustained, whatever else might present as differences. Ms. Anand in India earlier this week and joined us right here in the studio in Singapore.
From the standpoint of our relationship with India, that means starting with ensuring that public safety and security back at home are top of the agenda, but also furthering our relationship along a variety of axes, from bilateral trade resilience to AI to energy to agriculture and food security, people-to-people ties. All of that was in a joint declaration that we finalized with India just 2 days ago. On the next leg of my journey, which is going to China, we are working to make sure we're cooperating with China where we can, challenging them where we must, but at all times having a dialogue where we can raise issues of importance for Canada at the table of a very important partner in the Indo-Pacific.
Let's stay on India first. I noticed you mentioned the priority, the emphasis on public safety and security. And I take it that is because that is a concern. Our ties have been difficult because of the killing of a Sikh separatist leader in 2023. Your Prime Minister then raised it before lawmakers, and police after that produced what they felt was very strong evidence of involvement at the highest levels of Indian government.
The public safety and security concerns of Canada are indeed a top priority in our bilateral relationship. And that's why the joint declaration that we finalized specifically mentions respect for the rule of law, respect for the security dialogue that we have with India on an ongoing basis. In fact, my deputy minister and the head of our NSIA recently traveled to India for the most recent iteration of that security dialogue. It will continue. There is an independent RCMP investigation occurring in Canada. We have listed the Bishnoi gang as a terrorist entity under Canadian law, and at the same time, we're continuing with this security dialogue. There are multiple issues on the table, but we are addressing them in various capacities. At another level, we are ensuring that step by step, we are elevating the relationship with India to include issues relating to trade resilience, issues relating to energy cooperation, issues relating to AI and new technologies, among others. So this is a complex relationship, and we are addressing various issues in either the security dialogue or the joint declaration, which provides a framework for that step-by-step approach between our two countries.
There's space for a lot more growth between Canada and India. Certainly if we look at trade and bilateral trade, India, Canada compared to Canada, China, which is a lot larger, and you are headed to China where tariffs, past acts of what some might consider economic coercion, these things will be on the table. And I quote you there, cooperate where you can, challenge where you need to.
There is no question that the relationship with China is complex and spans a number of sectors and different areas across the board. One of the reasons that I'm traveling to meet with my counterpart, Minister Wang Yi, is to ensure that we have a dialogue to be able to raise issues of concern for Canada and to be able to determine where is it that we can cooperate. There are indeed issues in every bilateral relationship. We are eyes wide open and indeed across the board seek to have that ability for a dialogue with a very important partner, player in the Indo-Pacific.
Where dialogue grinds to a halt because neither side wants to cede any kind of ground, what can you do?
The relationship that we have with China is one where we have to address issues of concern for our country. I have previously served as the Minister of National Defense, and we have been able to have that dialogue. So I expect that to continue into the future, and I'm looking forward to my meeting with Minister Wang Yi tomorrow.
Let me bring you back to your speech at the UN General Assembly, which you delivered in September. And I mention this because you talk about dialogue. And your speech came a week after the delivery from the US president, in which he said, what is the purpose of the United Nations? He just writes a really strongly worded letter, but empty words don't solve wars or don't solve problems from his point of view. Dialogue, you could argue, is just words. What would your answer have been?
Well, as a sovereign country, Canada is fully committed to multilateralism. What is multilateralism? It is the rules-based international order that has kept us safe since the end of the Second World War. It is the United Nations process. It is the World Trade Organization. It is NATO. Those are all multilateral organizations, and Canada is committed to cooperating and collaborating within multilateral organizations. That's not just words. That is the foreign policy of our country, and it will continue to be the foreign policy of our country going forward. The three pillars of our foreign policy relate to defense and security at home and abroad of Canadian citizens. It involves the second pillar, which is economic resilience. In this time of economic stress, in this time where countries are retreating towards protectionism, Canada will remain committed to the multilateral order and the growth of our domestic economy. And then finally, core values, human rights, gender equality, making sure that we are showing up on the world stage where it matters most.
Your Prime Minister himself has conceded the erosion of the rules-based order and the subsequent lack of effectiveness for multilateral organizations such as the United Nations. You would agree with that?
I believe that countries can be most effective when they work together and they cooperate. Are there aspects of multilateral organizations that require an examination given current geopolitical conflict and given the retreat of some countries towards protectionism? Perhaps. But Canada will be there as a leader, promoting multilateralism, looking for a way to improve these organizations across the board. We will not retreat.
All right, the final question here, Minister Anand. That was interesting. Canada will be a leader. We look about 9 years from your speech to the former Prime Minister's first speech at the United Nations. So Justin Trudeau, Canada is a modest country. We know we cannot solve these problems alone. That's in keeping with what you said. But we are Canadian. We are here to help. Not at that point to lead Canada. Is this a point of change for Canada? Final question.
We have a new Prime Minister, a new Foreign Minister, and a new foreign policy. And we are also confronting a geopolitical environment that was much different than 2015, and that includes intense economic stress where countries are retreating towards protectionism. So yes, we will be a leader in multilateral institutions to ensure that countries, including Canada, will be able to benefit from economic cooperation. And our foreign policy will be based on those three pillars: defense and security, economic resilience, so that we become the strongest economy in the G7, as well as a commitment to our core values. This is a clear and concise foreign policy, and it will drive our work going forward internationally.